Good start.
Sorry, the nerves suddenly got me then.
That's very good. I'm enjoying it. Do you want to carry on a little bit further? Or you...
Yeah, is that...
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
I'm just feeling a bit...
I know, yeah, it's amazing. It starts to go like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, the nerves is making me feel a bit...
I know, yeah, nerves are a funny thing. I mean, you know, certain things help with nerves. Obviously, the more often you do it, the less nerves you feel. So, putting yourself in this position, however it is, in front of friends and family, and do you do any performing? Do you have to do any concerts or...?
Once. Yeah.
Once?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you know, it's just repetition of getting in that position. Because basically, the way you play when you're in front of people is never as good as the way you play, you know, in your best relaxed condition on your own. And that's just a fact of life. But, you know, hopefully, the more you do, the better. The more you just relax into that. Think, okay, it won't be perfect, but it'd be good enough.
Yeah. And
it was. It's very good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was very good. So, I mean, I could feel the nerves there. Mm-hmm. And it comes out in certain ways, and there are certain physical things you can do, which is all to do with breathing, which actually, you know, help to push the nerves back down again. And you know, all professional players have had to learn to do this. The great advantage of being a wind player, I'm sure I talked about this last time, is that you can use your breath to calm you down. In fact, you have to use your breath properly. Yeah. So it has a dual effect of actually helping you to sound better, but also helping to calm your nerves down. So I can never emphasise enough the need to use the diaphragm, which I know we talk about last time, did we? In great detail, I can't remember. Has anyone seen that? Did anyone come to the session last year?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you probably be hearing, if not, it's on YouTube, you can watch a whole 2-hour masterclass. I think. It's an hour, okay. So that, you know, that stuff, and that starts before you get on stage, and if you're sort of like, if you're tense the moment you start, then that's not going to help. But to get, you know, just to start a piece, I feel nice and relaxed now. But you have to feel it down in your belly. Yeah. There is no other secret to this. I wish there was, but there isn't. Believe me. So there are those players who have learned to do this, and they're generally more relaxed. And there are those who haven't, And they sometimes sound good and sometimes sound really nervous. I mean, obviously we all get nervous at different times.
Can you explain a bit more what you mean about turning the belly?
Okay, so we'll start here because you can never start a recorder lesson without doing this, I'm afraid. It's absolutely impossible. So we can all do this. So just to clarify exactly what goes on here, you have your lungs. This very sort of broad picture. Your lungs here, and you can expand them by doing all this, expanding your chest and lifting your shoulders, and that's the normal way we breathe, and we're not thinking about it. But you also have this big muscle attached to the bottom of your lungs, your diaphragm, and that pulls the bottom of your lungs downwards. And it has the same effect of expanding and drawing air in, but it actually draws the air kind of right down there. So we have to learn how to use this muscle, one of the biggest muscles in your body, I believe. I'm not sure, I've heard all sorts of different physiologists telling me, oh, no, you can't feel your diaphragm, you can't use it, you're actually using your stomach muscles and you're not using your diaphragm and so on. But it's actually, for me, the way you feel it anyway is to imagine that's going down, so this goes out, like that. So the way you feel it is to expand everything here. Now, exactly what's doing the job, I'm not totally sure about, but I'm imagining that's going down, these are going out, that's one whole muscular action. So however you do it, doesn't look great, but it's what you have to do.
But ladies, we've trained ourselves to do this.
Exactly, no, it's the opposite.
When our life's sticking out tummies.
I know, it's completely true, and we all do it. I mean, even us men actually do it for vanity, maybe. But there's a picture in Walter Van Houwe's book about, have you seen those books, The Modern Recorder Player? He wrote back in the 80s or 90s. And there's a very unprepossessing picture of him slouched over with his big pot belly. But that's what you have to look like when you're breathing in.
Yeah.
So there's no other way to do it. You simply have to find that. You have to get maximum expansion here. So you're pushing out here. Some people say you can feel almost in their back, but certainly sides. You stick your hands right under your rib cage and push them out, push them apart as you breathe in. That's good.
Yeah, I feel right.
Yeah, so you sort of go all the way round. So we sort of do this. Now, it's the opposite of vanity. There's no vanity allowed in this room today. And I've no doubt said in this masterclass, because it always gets a laugh, but the time that I saw this was watching a very large trumpet-playing girl at college, who was she's about that broad, and she was standing side onto the audience. Every time she breathed in, she went, my stomach. So I really saw it. You could really see it somewhere. So it's nothing to do with size. I'm pretty skinny, so just that's what you have to. Now you find you've got two different ways of breathing, and the more you can do to help yourself separate them, the better, because you want to use that lower one and try and keep all the tension out of the upper one. That's what you're trying to do. See? Hello. So anything you can do to separate. So what I try and do is imagine a line there. You can breathe in under it and over it. We can all try and do this. Under, over.
So I've tried to shut this top bit off. Is that the wrong thing to do?
Well, no, I'm just trying to get you to separate it at the moment, because it's not something. It's quite held up there, so it's relaxed. So let's just try and find them separately first. I think before you've done this, let me see what can I see that. That's pretty good. Again, relax it all out. Okay, that's definite. That is very good. That was definite diaphragm. We could all see that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
You should literally be able to see it. So, in order to get control on a recorder, just to sort of if you've got to start a phrase really quietly, you might think, oh, I'll be all weak and quiet. But actually, what I would do if I've got a long, quiet phrase, that would be absolutely. Now I can hold it as steady as I want, steady as I like, just from that sort of. So it's not a feeling. It's not. There is a lot of looseness needed, but there's places that need to be really under control. So. Okay, we all have to, so this would be daily exercise, every day. The best exercise is lying on the floor, placing something on your tummy, watching it rise and fall, rise, fall. That's a very, very good exercise for finding your diaphragm. But we can all do it all the time. I'm sitting here now, the whole of the next 2 hours. Whenever you remember and think about it, hand on your tummy, everybody. And then it's just being able to keep relaxed and loose. Now we all... watch the players last night. I've never seen Tom play before, but do you see how loose he is?
Yeah.
I've never seen such a loose player. He's all like that, but it's incredible. The sort of energy that comes with that looseness. So that was kind of, it's really impressive to see that. But he's doing a lot of work that goes with that as well, so he can keep the rest of himself loose. So this is what we're aiming at. When we start a piece like this, well, there's obviously a dramatic aspect to it. but there's also got to be within it that sort of rubbery flexibility, and that is not going to happen if you're tense up here. Okay, we'll come back to music. Yes, let's just make a start on, yeah, play the opening phrase once again. Okay, that's good. Now, there's a lot of good stuff in that, but there's also a lot to kind of analyse as you do it. So I want us to watch her closely this time. See if any of us observe anything. Just whatever you like. Let's pick her apart. See if there's anything that we notice we like, we don't like. Let's just do it again. Same thing. Just the opening. Okay. Any observations at all?
My fingers are quite high on the right hand.
Fingers are quite high on the right hand. Okay, that's something. I was going to talk about fingers in a minute. That's something we need to talk about. But that's. What about the sound and the gestures?
That was a good phrasing.
Had a nice line to it, didn't it? Yeah, because she was thinking about it, wasn't she? Interestingly, see where we were all watching her. Because the first thing that I noticed, you do a lot of moving. Now, moving is a good thing, but your moving is doesn't necessarily go with the music. It looks, from our side, a bit random.
You commented on this last
Did
year.
I? Yeah.
I was hoping I'd made some little
I
steps
don't know,
away
I
from
can't remember what I said exactly. But to get movement that whoosh just goes with the phrase is a really, really good thing, because it paints the colours, you know, much more vividly for people watching. But to have movements that are just twitchy or going in between, or the worst thing is beat, sort of pointing out the beats, you know, which we had one of those somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, you know, it's got to be ticking away in your head, obviously, but if they're going to come out, they're strangely distracting. Okay, now you're making some very, very good sounds there. What I'd like to hear is a little bit more relaxation in the sound. You can do this right in the first note. So you thought, okay, this is strong, and you went, you did something like that.
Yeah.
But even from upbeat to beat, there'll be a little dip. We talked about this last time, didn't we? The way notes dip,
Yes.
and then move on. And I had this image which I found very useful since. I only dreamt it up actually in that Masterclass last week. I hardly do any of these. But the idea is a note dips down, it's on its downward dip as it hits the next note. Very useful image to have in mind. So the note, it's not doing that, it's doing. You get that? So watch it go down, so the breath. So that means in real terms, I'm exaggerating, so you hear there's that microsecond where everything changes. So you can scoop up to a note, but it usually sounds like it's not an effect you want to use that much. So just try playing those two notes a couple of times. See what happens if you let it go. Okay, the first thing you did is you breathed right up there. I saw you were thinking about it a lot. So
Those seconds when you're waiting feel a long time when everyone's watching.
I know, it's really hard in front. So let's just try, firstly, because that's, okay, we should all be into it, it's very easy. One note. Okay, did we hear something there?
Yes.
Okay, so if you feel your vocal cords connecting, then that's a sure sign of tension in your throat. Now, easy to say, don't be tense. It's not going to work, is it?
I can try.
But I think anything you can do to loosen, relax your upper body before you start, it's just sighing. Just try a couple of sighing notes. Okay, did we all hear that? When if we're going to analyse in minute detail, you went like that at the top. You sort of scooped up at the last second.
I wonder if that's sort of anticipating being a high note.
It is, but it's also, I'm afraid, it's one of those habits that you need to break because it becomes a thing that you do all the time.
Yeah.
There are nice ways of doing that, and there are slightly inelegant ways. And it's these tiny details. If you can start looking at these details, you know, once you hear them, you develop so much more.
Yeah.
I'm just going to point them all out to you, make you feel really insecure.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so just do let's have the B like a sigh.
Was that too long?
That's it. Well, not anything. I just want to And the main thing with that note is you didn't go at the end, you didn't clunk it off with your tongue. And that was one of my main criticisms of what I was hearing before. It went all off like that, you cut it off with a loud clunk. So just play a few of those and just think about the note having this shape. And when the next note starts, you're not going to scoop up to it. It's just going to happen in that microsecond. No, that's scooped up. No, it's still scooped. Still going.
I'm not changing it, I don't know why.
No, can you hear? So it's again that image, the note is on its way down when it hits the next note. It's not going to do that little thing at the end. Then suddenly you're going to go out of the blue as though it's just occurred to you.
No, it's all there.
Now, if we look closely at what's happening here, I'm going to get into a lot of detail today. Her mouth tenses. You did up. Right, I'm going to get that note. It's not that difficult. Okay, we're looser now. I like that. Generally speaking, although you actually want to bring your mouth muscles into play a lot, and again, watching Tom last night, you.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting to watch. But it's got to start from a position of looseness. You can bring in the tightness, but you need to be able to do it precisely where you want it, not just because you've tensed up.
I think this is probably how I've always done the high notes, and
Yeah. Well,
I've never done any different, so I
yeah,
have to do this habit.
just aim for looseness, and I mean there'll be more refinements later, but nope. Ah, getting there. Different feel that time.
Yeah.
Again.
No.
Okay. Better. It's like getting it in that precise microsecond when the notes change. It's the only time. Nothing's going to happen until that precise second. Okay, just give me a G. Just like that. No effort. Just. Okay, loosen your mouth a bit. Okay, now you can do that straight off, just like that, can't you? There's no reason if you didn't. You could do a note before and then just do that without any preparation. Okay, so do that a few times like that with a little gap, then that helps you get the feeling. Okay, too much.
I can still feel the tension here.
Okay, loosen everything. For the moment, let your whole mouth go slack.
I must look really attractive.
Yeah, I know, pot belly is slack jaw. It's lovely, isn't it?
No.
That immediately, actually, whatever you did there, immediately had a much nicer, more relaxed sound. Yep, you did everything in that second, didn't you? There's no preparation. Now even that little bit more of a dip on the B. Ah, it's coming, yeah, that's good. It's feeling better, keep going. Ah, yeah, I like it. Okay, keep going. Yeah, perfect. Can we all hear that?
Yes.
Good, so I'm not just imagining it. No. But do you feel anything different there?
Yeah, instead of coming from here, it's coming from my fingers.
Okay, it could well be actually, because everything has to happen in that tiniest microsecond. The fingers have to go dunk, and your tongue has to go dunk, but nothing else. So if you just get that, whichever lead, yeah, you could think of it as leading from your fingers. That works.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not, but that's what my brain
Yeah.
said.
Okay, do a couple more, and then we'll move on to the third note. Okay, one more. Good, another one. That's a bit of a big gap, but keep the same right principle. No, that's a different way. A bit of throat noise there. Yeah, lovely. What a lovely attack on that G, wasn't it? It's no longer abrasing us, it's just thump, like that. So that's the kind of image to have in your mind. So, but you can create drama, you know, so at the moment we're just simplifying it all, because I'm trying to, you know, take some of this stuff out and put some stuff back in afterwards. So you can do a lot of work just practicing, you know, literally going from one note to another. One note to another. Try it in different ways. There are many ways, but your habitual way is a scoop up, and that's the one we want to break, a habit to break.
I've never given that first beat any thought.
No.
I've focused on the G, of getting it out and it not cracking. I've never thought about the B at all.
Upbeats are very important.
Yeah.
Upbeats give the whole character to the phrase. I mean, there are many ways you can play. You know, you can decide to go, you know, or whatever you want. I mean, I like the dippy one. I think that has some character to it. It has some bounce to it then when you get to the note. Boom.
Yeah,
Boom. What you're trying to get. So to get a good... Sorry, I'm playing the wrong notes. But, and then you were using vibrato quite nicely, but I think you can get that even more sort of relaxed. And vibrato is a very useful tool for recorder players, because we don't have that many tools to play with, so it's kind of, let's use everything we've got. But vibrato, did we talk about this last year?
I don't think we did. No, vibrato doesn't come naturally to me at all.
No, it didn't come naturally to me, and it's good that it doesn't come naturally, because people who have a, quote, natural vibrato, often a nightmare to get rid of it, because it's on everything. It's just like plastered over, it's like putting Artex on your walls or something. You can't get...
Yeah.
So it's very, very good not to have a natural vibrato. You can then build a vibrato from scratch, which would be a much more useful one. And this is again using the diaphragm. So vibrato starts from simply waves up and down with your diaphragm. It's simply... So do some of those, so the sound completely disappears between the notes. Cool. See that Tommy going there? That's good, isn't it? That's great. You can really see she's doing it there, because that's where the work is. And I want to keep everyone's attention. This is the engine that drives the whole machine. Okay, so do a few more notes. Okay, number one rule about vibrato is that, generally speaking, when people do vibrato, they go sharp. There's the notes there, and they go up there and wobble around a bit. What we need to do is get the same amount under the note as you go above the note. So the more you go up, the further you've got to go down on each wave. So, and the bit that's difficult to do is the going down bit. No, it's quite hard to do that. When you're first practicing, it goes so far down that your note actually disappears, and that's a good way to see. Just do a few of those. No, so you see,
from here then.
yeah, but you see the note's not. I want to get that completely disappearing sound, because that really shows you that you're using your diaphragm. That's it. No, you lost it.
I've lost it. It's here again.
Come back up. Okay. Okay. So first of all, relax there. Don't go. It's a
I'm losing it a bit.
It's surprisingly hard to do. I mean, when you think about it, you know, this is what we do. We're wind players, so we need to be in control of the wind. We need to be able to let the wind do whatever we want it to do. It should be able to do anything. That's our, you know, it's the bow, it's the violinist's bow. It's what speaks. So what you need to be doing is spending a lot of time just making different sounds. So I've highlighted something that you find quite hard to do. It's the same thing, and this is not just you. This is pretty universal. Letting a sound drop. It's so hard to do. It's so tempting just to sort of push.
Yeah.
You know.
It's easy the other way.
It's much easier to go up than to go down.
Once you've got that complete sag, you've got no control. And
yeah, but you get a much better control out of it. I promise you.
I mean, I think it's instinctive to try and take the control back,
yes,
rather than let it go.
Exactly. So, you know, you can already play very well. So, you know, I think you need to spend a period of time almost playing less well. You know, just playing looser, just loose the whole time, and then you refine the control from its real centre down here. So again, we could, you know, you can all try this vibrato exercise. It's very useful. You've heard what I said. Let the sound disappear. And then okay, obviously you don't want your note to actually disappear in the middle. This is just to get the feeling of it. But once you get the idea of what it feels like to dip down, keep dipping down, then you can start to use it. You can then do it. And have that image that the note is there, you're going equally above the line and below the line. Yeah, otherwise it just goes sharp. And then you need to practice at different speeds. You just keep doing it, and then at different amplitudes. Which for me is just a little bit above and below, and then maybe starting. And you just got to do it over and over again, quite mechanically. Yeah. Then you start to get some control over it. So what I heard was you putting vibrato in, but it was a bit of vibrato now. Yeah. So vibrato starts not from a kind of intensity, but almost the first thing you're going to do is dip down. See what I mean? If that's your first move, obviously not so the note drops, but then you've got something to go from. If your first move is to go up, it all goes sharp. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So just try now. You go 2 notes of dip. Okay. Okay, let them both dip more. Yeah, your first was good. Good, good. Fantastic. Remember that feeling. Again, it's all very exaggerated at the moment, so you feel it, and you cannot do it unless you exaggerate first. You will not have the right effect if you don't make ridiculous sounds to start with. See what I mean? That's the sort of starting point. Shall I try again?
The whole sort of thing? Or
Yeah, just do to the 2 dip notes. Good. Try, now the next thing, this tongue that keeps going. One of the most common recorder habits, alongside the natural vibrato, is the clunky tongue that just stops every note. It's, you know, occasionally you do want to stop a note with your tongue. In general, you don't. In general, tongues begin notes, and if they are going to end them, we're going to find a more elegant way to do it. So I didn't think of at all. Quite often, just open my mouth. So usually the best way to stop a note, well, no, not usually, but very often the best way is not to tongue, open your mouth. Just try that.
No.
Good.
Yeah.
No, good.
That felt
Your
really
tongue.
strange.
I know it does feel really odd, doesn't it? Yeah, but keep doing it. Do that. That's really good. Keep going. Oh, lovely music. Really nice. It makes such a difference. That little clunky. These are the tiny details that people don't notice. They don't realise they're doing. They can hear the difference between a professional and amateur player, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
These are exactly the things, the tiny details. So,
But you feel so different.
does it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so it'll feel very natural and artificial for a while, won't it? But once you get into that feeling, oh, it's so lovely when you feel it, because that gets rid of your nerves more than anything. Doing these things, lovely.
Everything that's loose.
Everything loose. That was good. That was excellent. So, and a couple of other things. So, in the middle of that, I always mention about tonguing, about to-do tonguing. Did I mention that last time? Upbeat to beat. To-do. Easiest thing to play, to say. So let's have those 2 notes.
To do, because I make the R sound quite hard. To do. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in English, to do, works really well because we say it's part of our language. To, you know, we see these historical tonguings written down, like to the T and an R, to ru, effectively, is what she's written down in French music, for instance. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, and then lures and...
I ignore all of those. But I mean, that's, you know, some players are really into historical articulation, but I'm not. But I think what I like is articulation that speaks, so it's got to sound like language. But just saying to do, again, you get a lovely sighing feeling. To do. So give me a to do on the.
To...
Okay, to do. Good, that's better.
I think I've been doing ta-da, and it's too hard, isn't it? Ta-da, ta-do.
Yeah. Throat. Keep your mouth more loose. Again, trying to make it sound like we're speaking. You know, when you're speaking, you're doing the most incredibly complex things in your mouth, and your mouth completely relaxed. You know, it's just how it is. So that's how we need the same kind of feeling on the recorder. Totally relaxed. That was nice. And we can see, I can actually see, if you look closely at their cheeks, you can see they go, if they're loose and relaxed, but otherwise we can't see it at all. Yeah. Oh, lovely. That was such a great sound.
So, yeah, I'm getting used to how that feels.
Yeah. Okay, great. We're making a lot of progress. It's fantastic. And I often say, you know, different ways of thinking of that. To do, the French say to do. I like this thing where you say, you're almost like you're saying dunno. So we did that before, didn't we? Dunno. So if you say dunno, when you say the n, air is coming out of your nose. So you're trying, what you're actually saying is dunno, dunno, dunno. And then you're whispering it. Hold your nose and whisper dunno on a sigh. Play around with different positions of your tongue. Always a sigh. That's the feeling we're after. Like you say, dunno. And obviously, we'll vary that in intensity depending on the context. So there's an awful lot to think about. It's still literally in that much music. You've got so much that we can work on and think about.
Yeah.
Okay. But I feel that's gone in though. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we play? Let's play on a bit. Let's sort of let's think about it in a different way now. So the first couple of phrases as a performance now.
Begin first two phrases.
Try and remember what I've said, but I'm not going to hold you to it. So let's just try and think from other points of view what we can. Sorry.
Yeah.
Same thing. Nice. That's second. Okay, so there's a lot of concentration going on here, which is, of course, yeah, it's another thing we have to talk about. So you need to really make these things feel natural. And then we've got the performance aspect, which is we need to bring back in afterwards.
Yeah.
But with all of this technique now, all this bouncy sort of flexible sounds. So then you've got to think, okay, what's this going to look and sound like to the audience?
Yeah.
You might want to, because it's a strong opening statement, isn't it? It's very dramatic. So here's where we now need to start doing this stuff in a performance sense. So you have, did you hear the sound I did? Down.
Yeah.
So you can create different characters right from the beginning. You've got the part A of the phrase, dum, ba, da, 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 the answer. Then even more insistent question. Dum, ba, da, 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 so what you can do right at the beginning is create some drama. So now try and remember what we did, but let's now do it from a dramatic point of view, not a technique point of view.
I've forgotten all the technique.
Don't worry, we're going for drama this time.
Okay.
Okay, good. Now, did we notice the beating there? Dum, dum, ba-da-da-dum. So you're conducting yourself. You definitely don't need to do that. Obviously, you can look at these phrases in lots of different ways. I'm just going to throw this one at you, where you actually literally create two characters. So this is where it's useful to use your facial muscles. And you frown. You know, look really, really. How you can just in that you can create colour immediately.
Yeah.
So you do that, frown and then wistful, and
Yeah.
frown and wistful.
I'm not very comfortable with this, the drama bit of it.
But you are doing the thing. What I'm trying to do is to suggest different ways of moving. So, because I think you need to do something that's.
I agree.
Yeah. Now soften. Now angry. Soften. Okay, and when you do your da da da, this is where the extraneous movement is. It's a little. It's one very gentle sort of movement. Just try that. Tongue. Yeah, remembering that tongue thing actually helps to soften your whole being at that moment. It's amazing how that just kind of kills it dead. But just remembering that, always have your mind on it. Okay, we've done the first two phrases. That's miraculous. Should we go on to the next one? Yeah, now things really get going here. So.
Maybe that wrong.
Yeah, don't mind. Okay. Okay, good. So another thing to think about that. That's good. That's good. It's very good. So you played with the rhythm, which is good, but we were also always aware of what the rhythm was. So that's very good. So sometimes people mess, they're random with the rhythm and nobody knows where they are in the beat. So have you played with a pianist before?
Once.
Oh, once. Okay. Okay. Of course, you will have to fit in with beats that the piano's doing, so if you want to pull it around that much, the pianist will need to know and be rehearsed, otherwise you won't be together.
Yeah. I think I've got too stuck on doing it on my own.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it, I don't know, you've got a recorder friends, they can pick out some bits from the...
No friends.
We have now. Okay. So what's it? Yeah, same principle of softening where you want to. So allow the soft bits to be soft. I know. Well, I was going to really talk about fingers at this point. So here we have the eternal problem of how do we hold a recorder so that we're not getting tense. So someone mentioned fingers going a bit high. I didn't think that was a particular problem. But what you're going to be doing if you're not supporting the recorder in some way, you're going to subliminally be about to drop or clinging on for dear life. So this is one of the most important things, is the most important thing in terms of support. How do you hold it? So you can support a recorder like that, okay, and things have to be right up in the air like that. So that's one way to do it. Your fingers can be loose. Gravity will sort of will push the recorder downward. As soon as you play at a more comfortable angle, the danger is that's going to happen. So you're of course going to be gripping in some way, subconsciously. Now, you're surprisingly little visible gripping going on. I don't quite know how you're supporting, but you will be, when this hand isn't on the recorder, you will be pressing down harder than you need with these fingers in order to support,